Hello and welcome to Easy Classes. I'm back again with a new topic, that is verb. Verb is nothing but a word that shows an action. It shows a state of being. It also shows what is done to a person or a thing. Number one, it shows your action. Number two, it shows what you are. Number three, it shows what is done to you. Let me give you an example. I told you verb is a word and it has three properties basically. It shows your action, your state of being, what you are. And number three, what is done to you. I would say reversed action. So I told you verb is a word and it shows your action. It shows the state of your being. It also shows your reversed action. The reversed action, what is done to you basically. Generally, if I talk about this action, I can say that I write, right? I can say I write. Number two, I can say I am a writer. Okay, now there are three examples here. I write, that shows my action. I am a writer, that shows who I am. Number three, I am asked to write. It means मुझे लिखने के लिए कहा जा रहा है. It shows the reversed action. What is done to me? This is what it shows, your reversed action. Clear? So we understood so far that verb is nothing but a word and it has three properties and it shows your action, your state of being, it shows your reversed action. Is that clear? Now verb has its own forms. And what are these forms? Generally, in childhood you must have studied about the five forms of verb: V1, V2, V3, V4 and V5, right? So let me just simplify this. V1, V2, V3, V4 and V5. Now there are two classes of verbs. Number one is your auxiliary verb and number two is your ordinary verbs. One is your ordinary and the second is your auxiliary. We also say this is your helping verb. In ordinary, we know we have n number of verbs such as eating, to eat, to sleep, to go, to come, to laugh, etc. Correct? Ordinary, these are the sentences, these are the words I mean. Now auxiliary, it has two parts basically. One is your modals and the second is your primary auxiliary. Now under modals, you know that we have will, shall and then might, and in primary auxiliary we have is, am, are, was, were, had, has, have, been and being. Verbs come under primary auxiliaries and these verbs come under modals. So let me just quickly recap what I said. Verb is nothing but a word that shows what? Action, state of being something and reversed action. It has basically five forms: V1, V2, V3, V4 and V5. There are two classes of verbs, ordinary and auxiliary. Auxiliary has two parts, what? Primary auxiliaries and modals. Now you need to understand there are two kinds of verbs in English grammar. Number one, your finite. Number two, your non-finite verbs. Correct? So if I write this here, one is your finite and the second is your non-finite verb. We will understand each terms one by one. But before I jump to this, now let me tell you an example. Let me give you something else related to V1, V2, V3 and V5. Let's say if I write eat, this is your V1. We know that, right? What will be V2, V3, V4 and V5? For V2, it becomes ate. For V3, it becomes eaten. For V4, it becomes eating. For V5, it becomes eats. See, V1 works as an infinitive sometimes. I'll explain what I'm saying. V1 is basically, this is your infinitive. This works as an infinitive. This is basically used in your past tenses, V3 and V4. This is your past participle, we can classify, and this is your present participle, and this is used in present indefinite. I'm sure you must have read about tenses where you generally use all these terms. V1, V2, V3, V4 and V5, correct? So the main thing that I'm going to teach you, this is related to finite and non-finite verb, because this is very important. And let me also tell you, if I talk about verb, this is a very important chapter in your English. Make sure you understand this chapter very well. If you do not understand, it will be problematic for you. So let us analyze, let's understand what is finite verb and what is non-finite verb. Okay? This word finite means limited. Limited. Non-finite means not limited. Correct me if I'm wrong. Finite means limited, non-finite means not limited, correct? In finite verb has its own subject. Own subject. It has its own, finite verbs will have its own subject. On the other hand, non-finite verbs do not take their own subject. No subject, no own subject. Number two, they are limited. They are limited. Limited by what? Limited by the person, limited by the tense. So they are limited by the person and the tense, and here nothing happens. It means they are not limited. They are not limited by the person or the tense. They are actually not limited. Okay, let me give an example for the finite verb so that you may understand in a better way. I play, if I write I play, he plays. Did you understand? Here I is your first person, on the other hand your he is your third person. Now play and plays, so these will be called your finite verb. These will be called your why finite verb? Because it actually changes as per its subject. It actually, it got changed as per its subject. If it does not change as per its subject, then this will be called your finite verb, sorry, non-finite verb. On the other hand, let me tell you, I like to go to mall. They, so here like and liked, these are called finite verbs. And on the other hand, to go and to go, these will be called your non-finite verbs. Why? Because these verbs, they actually got changed as per its subject, but they, to go and to go, they actually did not get changed as per its subject. It does not care about the subject, it does not care about the timing, it does not care about anything. So it means it has no specific subject. They do not have any specific own subject. That is why these are called non-finite verbs. Did you understand this? Okay, so now let's talk about gerund and participle. Let me tell you the key features between the two. How would you identify whether this ing form is your participle or gerund? The very first thing is, if I talk about the participle form, this ends with ing and this acts as a verb, it acts as a noun, it also acts as your adverb, sometimes it acts as your adjective. I'll give you an example. I am swimming, it means your work is going on. If the subject is doing something, then you can say that this is your verb. Am I correct? I saw a burning train. It means your subject is not doing anything. See, it's a second form of see, and this is your stative verb. Okay, this is your stative verb. This is not progressive. This subject is not doing anything. So burning is not something, it's not a verb. What is this in that case? What is it then? This is your adjective. And how this is an adjective? Because it qualifies the noun, and as per its definition, whichever qualifies the noun or pronoun is called adjective. So here, I saw a burning train. It means your subject is totally null. Your subject is not doing anything. Correct? And this qualifies the noun. Okay, I saw a see, if you discard burning from this section, You can only learn I saw a train. You don't know what kind or what type of train is this. You saw a burning train, correct? You saw a burning train. So this is your adjective basically. Okay, so now I believe it's very clear. Now you know the difference and you know how you can identify a participle basically. Participle is V4. Just understand, participle is your V4. Somewhere in the sentence, if you have an ing form and if you identify that your subject is active, it means that ing form or that ing word is your participle. That's not your gerund, because gerund can only be used as a noun. It can only function as a noun. It is a type of present participle, yes, that ends with ing, no doubt. It has been divided into two types. It can be used as a subject. It can also be used as an object. See, the example should be smoking. So we have two sentences here. Number one, smoking is bad for health. Number two, I do not like smoking. First, in the first sentence, you can see this is acting as your subject. This is basically your noun and your subject, correct? And I do not like smoking here. This is your object. What you don't like? You don't like smoking. If I say I like reading, if you can say I like reading, it means it is your object here. Although this is your noun, but this is acting as an object in this particular sentence. That it is general fact, a general statement for the subject, where the subject says that I like reading. All right. Now if I write I like to read, I like to read, is this sentence correct or incorrect? I would say this sentence is grammatically, although in spoken English you can use this sentence, no problem, but grammatically this is incorrect. The correct formation is I like reading. If you understand the difference between these three terms, participle, infinitive and gerund, then only you can identify that why this sentence is incorrect and why this is correct. So in short, I'll repeat myself. I like to read is your incorrect statement. You can say like I like to read. Now this sentence is correct. But if you are talking, see, in general scenario, if you are fond of something, you like something, you hate something, you can form a sentence in that case. Let's say I love dancing, or I love singing, or I hate doing this, I hate doing that. These are general factual information. These are general statements, facts. All right, so these can be formed using ing. Where if you have to use infinitive, that is using to, you cannot generalize this. You always have to say, you always need to add an object here, always an objective. Or if you do not add an object, although speaking, that will be fine, but in grammatically, as per the grammar, this may be called incorrect. So let me quickly recap of what we have been talking about. We talked about the verb. We know what is verb. Then we talked about the classes of verbs. We have auxiliary, we have ordinary. In auxiliary, we have two parts, modals and primary auxiliary, correct? We also talked about the kinds of verbs. So we talked about the non-finite verbs and the finite verbs. In infinite, we have transitive and intransitive. And in non-finite, we have three forms, that is gerund, participle and your infinitive. If you did not understand these three terms, you can let me know through comment. You can let me know so that I can make a video on that particular topic. So that's it for today. We'll meet up in the next. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.